live.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the October 20th Police Accountability Board meeting. Thank you for joining us. Are we still live? Did we lose a stream right now? Marina, should I keep going or are we not streaming?
Are you talking?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Are we still streaming?
Yeah, we should be live right now. My connection is just saying it's unstable, so I'm switching over.
Okay, good. Sorry for the delay there. Yep, just like to welcome everybody to our October 20th PAB board meeting. Start with introductions. I'm Larry Knox, chair of the Police Accountability Board. Dr. Harrison.
I'm Bob Harrison, and I'm a council appointee.
Mr. Bosco.
Dwayne Bosco, acting manager and chief of investigations.
Dr. Harvey.
Ricky Harvey, appointee from the mayor's office.
Rabbi Settle.
Dora Settle on the Northwest Council seat.
Mr. Nikoloff.
Council appointee.
Thank you, man. Mr. Cadet.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Cadet Senior. I hold the PAB Alliance seat.
Marina.
I am Marina Pacheco Walker, secretary to the board.
And Ms. Brown. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Okay. Great evening, Arlene Brown. I'm an Alliance appointee and so glad that all of you have chosen to join us this evening to help us take care of community business. We're here to serve you. Larry?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown. I'd also like to thank Melanie and Kim for doing our ASL tonight. All right, so I guess we'll start off with minutes. Marina had emailed out our minutes from our emergency meeting last week, which were pretty short, and then our minutes from October 6th. I did have one correction for the October 6th minutes, just first line, the chair name. You got the wrong chair name there, but just putting the right chair.
Oh yeah, I think I sent a revision about that, so I caught it. I fixed it.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I might print out the older one then. Yeah. Any other changes for the minutes anybody had? Okay, to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I so move.
Second.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand.
Okay, I see Harrison, I see Knox, I see Settle, I see Cadet, I see Harvey, I see Brown, and I see Nikoloff. Motion carries.
All right, we'll get into our staff report. Next thing on the agenda, Mr. Bosco.
Okay, so as of today, we have 206 reports filed, of which 185 contain identifiable complaints of alleged misconduct. 90 of those have been assigned for investigations. The next batch of source of informations are scheduled to go out to RPD tomorrow. Today, 8 staff members participated in the ride-along with RPD. The next session is scheduled for November 11th. If you haven't already done so, please get me your release form so that I can get that over to RPD as soon as possible. We are working on another date for the ride-alongs. That date is undetermined as of now, but we are looking at afternoon/evening hours to accommodate some of the board members. RPD training continues next week. This week, training consisted of going over PSS, Criminal Investigation Divisions, SWAT, SCUBA, and bomb squads. The next training is scheduled for the 25th, covering body-worn cameras, cultural awareness, as well as community policing. We are in discussions for additional trainings that more than likely will take place in early next year. For operations, PAB is creating an onboarding portfolio for incoming employees. We are continuing our interviews for the approved positions in case management, senior community engagement specialist, as well as a clerk for operations. Those positions have not been filled as of yet, but we're looking to bring on some of these qualified individuals that were interviewed. For case management, we are currently in phase 4 and the eyesight onboarding. Phase 4 consists of testing the environment and submitting feedback for fixes to the environment. We don't have a new launch date for that. For public affairs, the public affairs divisions continue to support the work of the policy division by co-facilitating the remaining disciplinary matrix community input sessions through the end of 2022. The team is also doing usability testing of the new website with internal staff. The new website is expected to launch in December. The timing of the website launch will also coincide with the launch of the PAB's new intake phone number. Public affairs is developing radio, social media, and Google ads that will promote the new website and new phone numbers as part of a rollout. We've also updated the PAB marketing items to reflect these upcoming changes. The team will be placing new marketing items like flyers, brochures, tripod, trifold stands up in partner locations such as the Rochester Library and other locations. Internally, we are taking steps to form the internal task force. We've identified Matthew as the board member who will be on that committee, on that task force. And we're looking forward to meeting with the other members of the task force in the coming weeks. And that concludes the staff report.
I had a question, Dwayne. With the you said the disciplinary matrix, that public comment period goes to the end of the year, and then for the data transparency, is that still is that the end of the year, or is that the end of the month? I couldn't remember.
That goes through the 26th.
So if people want to have a public comment on that, we have until the 20th. They have until the 26th.
Yes.
And then also on the ride-alongs, those were, you said there were some that were happening today?
Yes, so
Yes.
8 staff members participated in the ride-alongs today. The next ride-along is scheduled for November 1st.
Okay, did you get a chance to check in with any of them after the ride-alongs, just to see how they went?
I checked in with a couple of them. I believe that there was a response to a call. Most of the feedback were in the nature of they were hoping to get more of interactions with the community members, but they weren't given that opportunity based upon the calls or lack thereof of the calls that were responded to.
And I have more questions. Does anybody else have a question before I go to the rest of mine? For that, can you just go look? Because I know we've been back and forth over the eyesight delays. If you know, a lot of it would seem to be on their end. Do they have a time frame? They're going to give us a time frame, or is it they need us to work through what you're working through before they can give us another time frame? Just where we're at with the eyesight, a little more detail.
So last week there were several cancellations of trainings which pushed back the time frame. This week we are caught up with training and we're working on fixing the environment problems that were pointed out by a select number of staff members that were given an opportunity to go in and have meetings in regards to what changes are necessary. We're looking to get it up by the end of this month, but as far as a specific date, I'm leery of giving another date since the last date was scheduled for the 11th. And due to cancellation of trainings, we weren't able to meet that.
And then for the matrix, for the public comment period, like you said, it's through the end of the year. Have we heard back from the Locust Club or RPD with their comments?
No, we have not.
But they're both aware of the deadline, right?
Yes.
And then I know this is later on the agenda, but we always, it's permanent old business, the information access. What's been the turnaround time for, has it changed at all since our last meeting 2 weeks ago in regards to the requests and then getting the turnaround back from the information officer?
So the next batch of source information requests are going to go out tomorrow. We have gotten information in regards to requests already made. We've been working on going through the materials that have come in to see how they match up with the requests that were gone out. In addition to new source of information requests that are going to go out tomorrow, there's going to be a secondary batch of requests for information that were requested before that we haven't received as of yet.
Okay. So from the initial the first batch, you're still going through to see if you felt there was a complete reply, or is that what the secondary requests are?
That's what the secondary.
Okay.
That's what the secondary requests are.
I don't expect the exact number, but like approximately how many of those secondary requests out of the total batch you had, approximately how many did you have to have secondary requests on, or what percentage would you say?
I don't have that number.
Okay. Was it a small percentage you think, or a higher percentage, or just not sure?
No, I don't want to.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
I don't want to provide an incorrect number.
Okay, but there is more than one that we have to.
Yes, there are more than one matters that require a secondary request.
Okay.
And actually, in total, it'll be over 10.
Okay. And do you know, are they still, for our requests, are those still going through the law department after we do the request?
As far as I know, the process has not changed, which means that we submit our request to RPD through our liaison. They gather the information, and before it is turned over to us, it goes to the law department for approval.
It's still problematic. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Am I remembering correctly that we don't actually start judging cases until the disciplinary matrix is approved?
I think depending on if we have cases that don't need a disciplinary matrix, we can decide like something that, like we're doing, like if there's a case that has to go, it's going to another department, then that's not something we'd have to decide, or if it's one where.
But those cases where there's
If I may, Dr.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay.
Help me out.
Sure. So what you're looking at as far as adjudicating cases that have allegations that have been substantiated. So the answer to that is yes. In order to fully adjudicate a case that had allegations that our investigators have substantiated, found that they did in fact commit misconduct, for those particular cases, we have to have the disciplinary matrix in place to adjudicate those. For other matters in regards to not enough information out of our jurisdictions or any of the other designated findings, we don't need the disciplinary matrix to be complete for those to come before the board.
But where we've identified a problem, we can't deal with that until we have the matrix, and the matrix, the comment period for the matrix is the end of the year. That means that the matrix won't be ready until sometime after the end of the year, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And the second question I have is, how many cases so far have a complete set of material from the police department?
I would have to provide that answer in writing to you once I take a look at the secondary requests that are going to be going out tomorrow and compare it to what has already been requested. So once I have an opportunity to take a look at the secondary requests that our investigators are working on, I'll be able to identify which cases have all of the information that we have requested.
Thank you.
I had a kind of a follow-up to that question. Thanks, Dr. Harrison. How many, do we have cases that we are close to being able to interview the complainants as a follow-up to, what we got from the RPD and the work of the own investigators? Like, how far away are we from, I know we have to wait for the matrix for certain things, but from being able to interview complainants, are there cases that are getting close enough with information where we'd be able to start doing that? Or what's the time frame of that?
Yes, I met with several investigators today to go over next steps, and they are going to be reaching out to witnesses to set up interviews. There have already been investigators that have reached out to witnesses to get additional information from them. So that process has already started. In regards to moving forward for taped interviews, that process, I met with investigators today, and that process is going to start next week.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes. Is there a time frame from the time someone has registered or put in a complaint, it goes through the process? What is the normal time frame that things have to be done? Because if the disciplinary matrix is not going to be finished before the end of the year, does that mean that cases that are in the pipeline, because we will not have met the deadline, will drop off? And if not, what happens to those cases?
So for administrative discipline, there's 180 days from the date of the event occurring in order to fully adjudicate a matter and dole out any type of administrative discipline. That time frame can be adjusted, and there are exceptions to it if the matter involves a criminal activity or something that is deemed a criminal activity. That statute of limitations will be extended based upon the penal laws, the statute of limitations for that particular offense. As it stands right now, I don't have the number of cases in which the statute of limitations will be up by the end of this year. I did have a conversation with one of our investigations team, and the cases that they're working on, the closest statute of limitations for that has not already expired. And I should put in a footnote in that when we opened our doors on June 20th and reports started coming in, some of those reports already had statute of limitations that have expired already because they are many years old that they were still filing the complaints with us. So out of the cases that statute of limitations were not expired by the time they reached us, one of those cases, at least the first one with the investigation group that I spoke with, is coming up in April of 2023.
Just as a follow-up, if you'll be kind enough to give us the list of how many cases have fallen off the radar or were not really viable. So that will help us as we get the message out to let people in the community know that they must step up as soon as possible and give the intake personnel as much information as possible because there are hard deadlines. And thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, can I ask one follow-up question?
Of course.
Mr. Basco,
Yes.
am I correct in understanding that at the present time, to your knowledge, there are no cases where the information from RPD is complete?
I can't say that there are no, well, I'm sorry, to my knowledge, I don't know if we have all information for a particular case. I will know that answer tomorrow when I review the secondary requests.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Yeah, if you can update the whole board, Dwayne, when you get that information for that, that'd be good. Any other questions for from our staff report? All right. Thank you, Dwayne. Please stick around. We'll be going into the chair report is next on the agenda. There's two things I want to bring up. I'm assuming many of you may have heard last week, but if not, there is a date now for the anticipated date for the end of the investigation, which is October 31st is when we're expecting the report to be released to the 3-on-3, and then there'll be a process which we'll talk about a little bit later that's still being worked on in regards to what happens after that. But there is, finally, as you know, we've been given, updates that have been super detailed, but as detailed as I could say in regards to the time frame. And we are to the point where, the investigation is in the midst of being wrapped up, and we should have by the end of the month, October 31st, the report to us. More that happens after that, which we'll go into a little bit later, and that's still being worked out, but there is a time for that report. Good to hear that, that we still are getting cases in, that people are calling. I'm glad to hear that we're making some progress, although it is, still a little bit too slow, I think, for us in regards to getting that access to information. And again, if somebody has a complaint, please call or go to the website. And same thing if you have a policy recommendation or you want to comment on, the matrix or our other work with the policy team in regards to data transparency. Please, we want to hear your comments, and we want to get invited to any meetings you may have of your community group, neighborhood association, church, mosque, anything. Please invite our team there so we can come and hear your thoughts on that. On those items. Those are very important to the work that we're doing here. I do want to talk about also, some news from today. My day job, I'm a union organizer, and the staff today announced that they're expressing interest in organizing. And I'm as an organizer and as board chair, I did come out in support of that. We have a lot of things that that need to be addressed, in the community and also, working better within our office. And I'm always a believer that unions help, make better workplaces. So there's a process that they're going to be going through, for that to happen. As chair, I express my support for that, and I'm hoping that will be successful. So that is happening. That was announced today by I think it was 19 members of the staff. I'm not sure about that number. I think it was 19 that expressed an interest in organizing. So that's my sense. I think maybe later we can maybe take a vote for the, where the board is on that as a whole. But I think it's really important that, having unions in workplaces it should be everywhere. And that it will make for a better work environment for the staff, for managers, and a better experience for the community as that gets going. We have work to do before that to continue the work within and outside, but I do want to acknowledge that happened today, and there was a press conference about that today by members of our staff. Third, I do want to, we've spoken about it a little bit. I mentioned this, I think a couple of board meetings ago with the Daniel Prude settlement, and the need for that being a reminder to all of us of the work that the community is expecting us to do, so that never happens again, and making sure that we give our staff the support that they need to be able to do their work fully, and that us as a board are supporting the staff, and that that the community is getting the response they need for what they voted on. I think it's another reminder, with where we are, especially with the political environment in our country right now, with a lot of rights under attack, that the rights that the people voted for when they voted for their PAB, part of our job, part of our mission of the staff, of us as a board, as supervisors, is to make sure that all the rights of everybody in our city, in our community, but especially for our city residents or people that have interact with the RPD within the city, are being upheld. And as we go through everything that we're going through, and as this report comes out, I want to make sure that we all remember to keep that focus, because that's what the community is expecting us to do. And that's what I'm committed to do as chair, as we make decisions and as we hear from people, that we keep our focus and making sure that whatever decisions or ideas or thoughts that we have are focused on doing what the community is asking us to do. And that might mean, different things to different people, but I think we'd make sure that we keep that focus and have a belief and understanding that people that we're working with are also moving towards that. We have to figure out a way to do that in the same direction. Eventually, maybe not right away, but we have to believe in each other and work towards that. And that's not going to be easy, but it's a necessity for this board as we go forward. I'm committed to doing that. And I expect everybody else too that's working and is a member of the board and out in the community that's supporting our work. All right. For new business, I think I would like to have a talk about the union in new business, but we're not there yet. So in regards to committee reports, I'm sorry, any comments or questions on my chair's report before we move to the next item? Yes.
I understand that it's publicly known that there's an investigation that involves a number of personnel, and it seems common knowledge that investigation will result in a report. So I don't understand. So I would like to ask, because it has been mentioned that there will be a complete report and a redacted report. I'd like to make sure that I understand what you know about the plans for the board, the quality of report that the board can be expected to receive.
I'm in new business. I think I'll get a little bit into more detail about, the process, that's going to happen. So if we can wait till new business, I do have that on the agenda to go into a little bit more.
Well, you mentioned it, so
Yeah.
in old business, so
Well, we didn't get
what-
to old business yet. I mean, I mentioned it in my chair's report, but I did just kind of want to mention that, but I do have underneath new business, kind of going into a little bit more detail on that. So if you're okay, if we can wait till new business, I would definitely answer that.
the other thing that you raised about staff and their plans to unionize. I feel supportive of their efforts, but I'm concerned about the relationships that we should expect. And what I mean by that is that the fact that staff is unionizing is a issue more for the executive director than it is for the board. Our relationship is with the executive director, not with the staff. And when we get confused and think that we have a relationship with staff, things get muddled.
Mhm.
So on the one hand, I agree that I think unionizing will probably make everyone more comfortable. I'm not sure whether as a board member that should make any difference anyway.
I would say, yeah, I think we do have, I mean, underneath the charter, we have direct supervision and engagement with the executive director. But I wouldn't say we wouldn't have that we don't have a relationship with staff. I mean, maybe I'm taking too broad an idea of what your definition of that is. I mean,
I don't want us to be like the school board.
I understand. Yeah, we don't run the board does not run the day-to-day of the PAB, and we don't, get involved into the, day-to-day of the internal work of the, of our staff who are, have got hired and are qualified to do that work. I mean, I think we do need a relationship with, with staff, with management, with the community. We all need a relationship with them. And I think the union, having a union there and that relationship that the union members will have to help make that better, I think would be a good thing. But our role as a board, we're not going to decide what's in the union contract. I think that's something for the staff to negotiate with the city and then for us to make sure it's implemented properly. But I believe, and I think that our work as a board is stronger, the stronger that our staff are. And our work and our relationships will be stronger, the stronger that staff is having that with each other. Anything that can happen or anything that we can do to help support that, I believe in and support, as long as people are working towards the same goal, with building and build trust with each other. But I do understand, the charter is very clear that we, our main relationship is with the, the executive director, or and right now acting manager. Ms. Brown.
Yes, Dr. Harrison, thank you so much for bringing that up. We definitely do not want to go in that direction of the city school district and all the issues that come up. We see how that works. For me, as just an individual, I would like very much to do all I can to help each staff member feel good about where they are, how they are, and how it can help them come to work with a smile, glad to be there, or do something to help improve the environment. That's all I am trying to do, one-on-one, person to person, not delve into the individual issues that are there as far as work is concerned. But I think the more supportive board members are of people as individuals and letting them know that somebody really cares. Some people have moved from other locations just to come here to Rochester to work, and they don't have anybody except a friendly board voice and smile to let them know that we're all in this together. Larry?
Thanks, Carlina. Dr. Harvey.
I fully understand what board member Bob Harrison is saying, and you're right, but in addition to that, I like the idea of support. As Board Member Brown said, some of us were able to be there with them today, certainly not to give directions, not to even give advice, but to give support. And in light of the very volatile atmosphere and environment that we have been discussing for such a time, I think the support for the staff, the support for the acting director, the board needs support, but more importantly, this city has voted for the Police Accountability Board. This city needs support, and the citizens of the city need support. And I think as I listen to the acting director today, it appears, and listening to our chairman, it appears that we're moving in a place of better today than yesterday. And just seeing some of the faces today was, I think, good for staff members, and it was good for board members to see some of the faces. I really want to see us. I was happy to hear that we are hearing cases, and I think you asked, and Board Member Harrison, you can correct me, but if you didn't ask this question, I'm going to ask it, and I don't know if this is the right, how we finished a case, if we have finished the case, what does a finished case look like? And I mean, finished to the point, or are we approaching some cases that will finally get to the board? I honestly think everybody needs to get to work. I want the environment in the office to be of such that the people are glad to be working for the city of Rochester. I want us to be of such that the work can not just start, but finish. I meet people daily, and I'm approached with how to get information to the PAB, because people are in need of the voices and the power that this board has. But I also want to see it finally get to this board. So I guess the question that I'm asking, are we near any cases? And if so, how many cases are we upon that will soon pass by the table of this board?
Okay. Well, first, I just want to make one correction. I believe I said 180 days. Please forgive me if I said that. I was looking at my notes, but it's 18 months, not 180 days, 18 months regarding the administrative statute of limitations. So I just wanted to correct that. Also, when you're talking about adjudicating cases, we have several cases that are ready to close, and they're ready to close based upon um, not being able to communicate with the reporters to get additional information, so we can't move forward on those cases. We also have cases that have allegations that are outside of our jurisdictions. So those cases are readily available to close right now. We're still trying to get to you the closing reports on those. But I think, and Dr. Harrison, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're mainly concerned with are those cases where the investigators have gone through and found that the allegations have been substantiated, and trying to get those before the board to adjudicate those. That's going to take a little bit longer, but there are cases that can be closed with other findings.
So if I may.
Yep.
If I may, I want to ask a question that I'm being asked in the street, in the church, everywhere I go, as we are constantly in the news, and I'm trying to phrase it the way I received it. I have been receiving the question. Given what we have been through over the last weeks, how much has that hindered us from the work at hand?
So whenever there's transitions, there's going to be delays associated with those transitions. So we have had delays, but it hasn't stopped the work from going forward or stopped our ability to have the work go forward. So there are delays, but there are not denials. We are still moving forward with those matters. And the staff and senior staff are doing everything they can in order to make sure that we, one, take in the complaints, follow up with the reporters on the complaints, investigate the complaints to the best of our abilities, while also handling administrative issues that arise.
Okay, and my last question, and I'm done. Do we feel that our feet is now on the accelerator, or are we still, do we still have one on the brakes and our hand on the emergency brake?
No, our feet and our vision is looking forward. We can't change anything behind us. What we can do is try to adjust and adapt. And I have to really remind everyone, I know that there are frustrations that have arisen outside and inside the PAB. And everyone, or certain individuals, are saying, well, you know, this is 2 years old, this is 2+ years old. It really is not. The workers came aboard this year. The doors open in June. So we are doing the best we can. We are moving forward. And as such, there's going to be missteps. And the issue is, how quickly do we correct those missteps so that we can keep going?
Thank you.
Nicholas.
Someone asked that same question today at the press conference, I think in an effort to kind of throw the staff off in starting the union. And I would actually want to argue that the staff have taken us forward by forming this union, in that they're developing the kind of relationship and solidarity that will not only protect the workers, but also the work of the board. Because being collectively organized means not only will they be able to represent what's going on in their reality in the office, and that's an important check on the power of whoever the executive or acting director is. We want to have checks on power, right? Because we want to make sure we're as accountable and transparent as possible so that people can trust our investigations. Also, whether people want to admit it or not, there's plenty of people outside of this organization who would love to influence it for their own means, would love to challenge our independence, would love to undermine this work, would love to put their own needs ahead of the needs of the agency, whatever they're saying in public. And having the board organized, having the staff organized also protects them from any outside voices trying to sway members of the staff and create disorder within the office. So I think the more solidarity, the more voice that the more that the staff can make collective decision making and can stand together. Also enables them to make sure that there aren't any voices that don't represent the interests of the staff and or of the agency from getting a voice in the midst of that. So to everyone who thinks, I've heard this several times, oh, this is just a self-interested thing by the staff. I think this is an instance, like Thich Nhat Hanh says, self-care is also other care. And the staff taking care of themselves here is also going to strengthen this agency, protect it from outside influence, protect its independence, and make sure that everyone can do their best work. So I reject that hypothesis or that theory out there that this is a setback or that this is somehow against the work of the board. We're starting a new agency. It's a new community. Other unions, other organizations have decades, and a lot of them build on the same old template of city government. Let's just start an agency and run it like every other thing. And we want to be a different kind of agency that actually has people and relationships at the center so that it can be strong and so that people can trust what we're doing. And I think both our senior staff and our core staff are doing their best to do that and to stand together to make sure that the work of this agency continues. So the stronger we are within, the more we protect our independence as a board, not only from politics, but also from self-interests, both within and outside the organization.
I'm sorry, this is it for me, but I do want to say this. I do agree with you, Matthew, but I wanted to say to the citizens who may be watching, in the church, there's an old song that used to be sung when I was a little boy that says, "I'm not uneasy." When we look at where we are, we really have to almost discount 2 years of COVID. This is a brand new organization that started with a board, no director, no executive director, and absolutely no staff. And for us to, in this shorter period of time, to bring together an ED, now an acting ED, and the number of staff that we brought together in this city for this PAB board, to bring all of these people together in a brand new organization. There's no organization that would not experience growing pains, birthing pains. Matt just said we are birthing a brand new organization in this city that's going to take our city, our citizens in a brand new direction. And if we think that we could bring all of these powerful, intelligent, smart people together and not have what any organization would have, which is growing pains. And so I think the best is yet to come. And I think we need to encourage the citizens of Rochester to know that the best is yet to come. We have stumbled multiple times, but we have not fallen. And we are not quitting, we're going forward. And I think Dwayne, and to the rest of the board and to the staff, I actually think from what I feel when I'm around staff, I think the foot now is on the accelerator. It may not be mashed really hard, but I think the foot is on the accelerator. And I'm excited about the trajectory of our board, even our staff, even with the directions that they took today.
Oh, you're mute, Larry, if you're.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Reverend Harvey.
Thank you.
Any other comment before we move on to committee reports? All right. Training, and it's been mentioned a little bit already, open meetings, but yes, Rabbi Seraph can talk about the trainings we have coming up.
Yeah, just a reminder that next week at 6:30, we'll be having our mandated open meetings law training. So please make sure everybody's there. And we're actually leaving a couple weeks open right now so that if we need to have extra meeting time for the implementation, talking about the investigative report, things like that, that we'll have some flexibility for doing that. And once we sort of figure that out, we will have the rest of our schedule for the topics that are covered in the charter.
Thanks. Any questions on training? There was, I do want to, I'm trying to remember, we had a training that was recorded. I can't remember which one it was, but I think we should just talk, this is, Travis said this for later, but just as we get new board members, because we are still down one board member, trainings that we should probably make sure we get something together we can give to them, that either the recording of trainings or just materials we got from other trainings, just something that as we onboard people, they can kind of catch up a little bit quicker. Some of them may have to be repeated because it's a little bit more detail, but I do want to make sure, especially as we get new board members, that we have a process for getting them up on the training quickly. All right, so for old business, any other questions? Any questions for Rabbi Settle? All right, it's a constant old business.
Quick question.
Yes.
Has it been over 60 days since we've gotten a new board member appointed, since we're out of board member?
Yeah, we're over. I mean, for our last, Shawnee, our former board chair, Shawnee Wilson, is our current opening, and it's I think it's been more than 60 days for that. Yeah, I'm not exactly clear of when. I know a name I think was given to the city council that's an alliance seat for anybody watching, so that's an appointee of the alliance. So yeah, I think it'd be good to follow up. We could follow up with the alliance and city council just to see where they are at on that process for filling that last board seat.
I hope now that the staff is taking care of themselves and doing stuff, that the alliance can also focus on advocating for that seat, because we could really use the extra help. And it seems like they've got some work to do on that over there as well. And city council, I hope, will also act on the recommendation in a expedient fashion.
No, I agree. I think we all agree, having Mr. Cadet, join the board has been a great help. And, another member from the alliance, I think also would help us do our work better. And I think the alliance would, they're underneath the charter, they're supposed to have 4 seats and they don't right now. Arlene and then Dr. Harrison.
Yes, with the oncoming, as we wait for the oncoming board member, and if the name has been submitted to city council, as I believe it may have been, we know that most council members are supportive of the board, or they say they're supportive of the board, and yet some of them have been lagging in either voting or making their wishes known as far as the next board seat. They always want us to do the work. So we really are so grateful that they're stepping up and in a timely fashion, passing that name along, so we will have a full board. It's not so much what you say, but it's what you do that counts.
Thanks, Arlene. Dr. Harrison.
I just wanted to say that at the Alliance meeting last night, they discussed the nominations process a little bit, and they have a small stable of applicants and a plan for moving ahead.
Yeah, I'll follow up with the alliance tomorrow, just so we can have more details, so we can help, whatever work we need to do to help get that seat filled. I want the board to be of assistance, because I know the community is expecting that. Thanks for that. Any other anything else around that? Okay, for old business, I think it's gonna be a permanent thing on there. We already went into a little bit the RPD information access. That is one of the key things that for our independence and for the work that is going on. If you're doing oversight of an agency, I think right now, with there's a new chief and the people that we're working with, I think by and large, we have to take them at face value. They have good intentions to help us do the work that the people have told us to do. But part of our independence is, if that were to change at some point, you still need that access to information, not be relying on any other body, especially one that you're potentially investigating. So us not having that direct key card access is a constant issue that we need to have addressed, and the law department having a say in what we get is problematic also, especially because of that independence that we have and the fact that they also, have to give legal advice to the RPD, which is, the way the law is written. So more independence that we can get out of that, the quicker. One of the things that we might talk about, is potential litigation around that, which I think would be for executive session. But again, that I want everybody to keep their eyes on that, especially as we need to mobilize maybe in the near future around making sure we have that access as the charter dictated, which we've talked about in a lot more detail in previous meetings. All right, so for new business, so there isn't a lot of detail I'll be able to give in this because it's still being worked out. But as a reminder, there was established a 3-on-3 committee, 3 council members and 3 of our board members that would get updates in regards to the investigation into our executive director, and Arlene, our vice chair, myself, and Rabbi Seto, the members from the board, and on city council, it's Kim Smith, Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Mitch Gruber, and Councilmember Lachey Harris are the 3 members on the city council that have been getting those updates along with President Melendez. So those have been giving like a truncated version of those updates with the time frame. We found out now that we have a time frame at the end of the month, so now we have to talk about the process of there being a public report and then making sure the privacy of people that took part in that investigation is protected, which means redacting what we get and then what's released publicly, which doesn't need to have people's personal information, but does need to have the narrative and the recommendations that came out of the report. So we're being transparent. So there is, and every board member should have got an email yesterday with which we're not going to discuss publicly, but got an email because that's with the investigation. But they get an email yesterday with the preliminary ideas around what that would look like. That was also going to be shared with City Council for them to come back with their ideas and then directing that back to the 3-on-3 to work that out. And we're meeting again next week to kind of go over the recommendations. If you haven't had a chance, or if you need to ruminate a little bit more on that, just make sure that you look over that and email back or give a call, to put your thoughts and ideas and how we can be most transparent in releasing the report, but also making sure we take care of the concerns of people that talk to have their privacy and in regards to what was in the report. The details of things that are part of the narrative that don't need to be public for proper privacy reasons. So that decision, we have time to make that, but we do want to make sure we have some clarity between us and council before the report comes out at the end of the month. And once the report comes out, the board would need to take some time to look at that and make decisions on the recommendations in the report and based off what they read in the report. And there may also be recommendations for council that they'd have to make decisions on, and maybe others, but that would be up to each body individually. But it's our charge and our decision that we made, that we'd be making the decision in regards to the executive director, anything else having to do with the PAB out of that report. So we'll have more details once we get the report. There'll be more to be said after that, but I did want to talk about that. There is a process, us trying to have a good working relationship with council and making sure we're on the same page as that comes out. Any questions around that before I go into another new business matter? Okay.
Dr. Harrison?
I just wanted to say that how best to put this. I would say that any arrangement that results in anyone else knowing more than the board knows would be unacceptable.
Well, I think definitely put your comments or thoughts in the chain that we have going on. I mean, obviously we need a lot of information to make a full decision
What
But-
chain are you talking about, Larry?
I forwarded to the board yesterday the preliminary, or Rabbi said the forward to the board yesterday was the preliminary thoughts from the 3-on-3, and they wanted input. We wanted input from council and then from the board. We can forward again if you don't remember seeing, but it should have been an email that you got yesterday.
There's something really screwy about my email. Stuff gets buried. I don't know what it does.
Okay, I'll
look again.
Yeah, if you don't see it, just or we can just forward again right after the meeting, so it's at the top of your email. But yeah,
Thanks.
and yeah, Ms. Brown was having problems with hers too at some point. We think things weren't showing up, but yep. If you don't, I'll forward again right afterwards if you don't see it. All right. For new business, one other item I would, I referenced it before. I as wearing my chair hat, want to express support for the union. I am interested in just, if we as a board, I didn't want to speak on behalf of the board. I think I talked to a lot of you already, but I didn't want to speak on behalf of the board without having a vote first. But I would like to make a motion to do a vote to express support for the members of the staff that have expressed support for the organizing that was announced today, and that we like for them to be recognized by the city as a union. Rabbi said on that motion. Oh, you're muted.
I'm happy to second, but I wonder
Okay.
a friendly amendment when you say call on the city. I think more specifically, we want to ask the mayor to recognize the union, particularly since it's clear that they have the votes.
Yes.
And instead of making our staff spend that time,
Election.
with the election, that we can just have that and proceed. So
I accept that amendment.
So move.
All right.
Okay, motion by Harvey, second by Rabbi Settle. How do we vote?
Any discussion before we vote?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, discussion. All in favor? Aye.
I see Harrison, I see Knox, I see Settle, I see Nikoloff, I see Cadet, I see Brown, and I see Harvey. Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. Dr. Harvey.
No, that was my vote.
Oh, okay. I was gonna make a double voting joke, but I won't in this environment publicly right now.
Mr. Next topic.
Was there any other new? I think we are. Well,
I had something I wanted to bring up.
Yes. Yeah.
I've mentioned a couple of times now about St. John Fisher's Department of Community Engagement, or whatever it's called. That
before you continue, Bob, I think this might be something we should be talking about in an executive session.
Why?
Because your text about it, your email about it had to do with personnel.
No.
Okay, then you're talking about something different in that case. That's fine. All right.
I'm talking about the division at St. John Fisher that provides support and education for nonprofit boards.
Okay. Yeah, I did see that. I think we have to,
and we've accepted that we need training.
Oh yeah, no,
because we've done it in a halfway before.
No, I agree. That was on my agenda to talk with Rosabelle about, to see what kind of training, what money we have, because there is money, I think, set aside for like training. Some that I think is already with.
Well, I don't think we need money to get someone to come down and tell us what they do.
Oh, you wanted just like a presentation. I thought you talked about your. Well, yeah. I mean, if we want to invite them, if we want to do presentations on what they could offer, I had to make sure we have that money budgeted. Because obviously, if we accept it, it's something that they would want to be paid for. And I know we also have the contract, other contracts out there, but I'm in favor of that. I mean, we as a board also need training. It's not just, and we've gone through trainings on how to do the day-to-day job, but being a board is a different kind of training. And I've also had a couple other people reach out to me.
Well, Jor's mentioned that she's got some hours available. I would suggest. Let me finish, please.
Okay,
let me finish. Let me finish, Jor.
That's fine. It's just I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
The training hours, you mean?
and I'm just suggesting that we have someone from that group come down and tell us what they do.
I'd be in favor of that, maybe a couple different presentations, we can have a choice, but I think that's a good idea. I know there is.
I've looked into it. They're the only game in town.
Let's talk offline, maybe, yeah, maybe we could, I mean, I don't think we need a vote on that, but I think that is something that we can explore, just having looking for board leadership, what's out there. And, Fisher is, I mean, I know a lot of people have gone through programs at Fisher, and that's something they specialize in. I do want to explore if there's other options, and I'm not sure with, this, us being, if we end up paying, that we may have to get other, I just want to make sure we go through the right process of picking whoever. If we have to have an open process, want to make sure that it's done properly. If other people may want to, bid to do that also. But yeah, let's definitely explore it, and the sooner the better, because I think that will help us become stronger. So yeah, I'm on follow up with you, Dr. Harris. I did see that. When you sent the link out, I did check out the website. I haven't had the chance to follow up with you yet directly, but that definitely was of interest. I just want to make sure we go through the right process.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. You're right on target.
All right.
Reverend Harvey's comment before about the miracle that this board exists and is doing work, it should be reminded that despite putting a lot of fanfare into rolling out this board, the board was not actually provided any initial training or guidance around that from City Council, aside from a few staff members, one of whom worked for the legal department and therefore also represented the police. So I do think, along with the miracle of many other circumstances, overcoming COVID, et cetera, that training is long overdue. And I think despite that, we're still here. So again, I think there's been a lot of discussion about why didn't they do this, why they messed this up, why they just messed that up. And, we've asked for it. We'd love to see more proactivity and make sure that in the future when new board members come on, they can be trained better than we were, which means being trained at all, frankly. And so every time people critique the lack of oversight or any of the other things on the board, I think that goes to those who rush this thing out in order to maybe get it done rather than really thinking about how to roll it out. And when people talk about the fault of the board, it doesn't just rest with the people who are in the board, but also the way that the board was set up. And I think the fact that it exists still is a testament to all the people who worked really hard to make that happen.
I agree. And then I see Rabbi said, just follow up on what Matthew said. I definitely agree with that. I mean, I've been on many boards, and none have been as interesting as this one. But board training has always been a part of that work, and when it doesn't happen, it makes the work harder for us. And so I agree with that. And also, this reminds me of something that Dwayne had mentioned earlier, but also making sure our onboarding process for staff is better. I mean, I think some of the issues, and this is with making that onboarding more clear for the staff. I think it's also important, and us doing the work as a board, and us onboarding and bringing people in. Both Daniel and I have come in some pretty interesting times on the board, and making that process better, and then training that will make us better too. Rabbi Settle.
Just a couple of things. So one is, it's interesting thinking about it too. I mean, we've needed to focus on the training topics mandated by the charter, and it's interesting to see that that's not among them. In that sense, to board governance or things like that. So, definitely, there's, we all want that. We all want to learn and grow as much as we can. Bob, I just wanted to ask you, what specific program are you referring to at St. John Fisher, just so I can look at it?
I don't remember the name, but Dr. Berman is the head of the program.
Okay.
If you look him up, you can probably find it that way.
Okay, thank you.
And if you want, I'll look. I know I've got it somewhere bookmarked, and I'll email that to you.
Actually, email it to everybody. That would be great. Thanks.
Okay. I've done it once.
Oh, I know, especially with all the emails I've sent out this week, we get a lot of emails. So it's, yeah, if we can do the reminder, if send it again, that would be great. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, Dr. Harrison, thank you for reminding us about the email because I have access right now with a computer and looked them up and on their website. They have it does look like a promising resource that we can utilize. I'm surprised, as like just with Rabbi Settle, that this was not on the list of training for us to even do, because it looks like is for just based on the About Us section, is very clear on just their focus is to help a board, run their not-for-profit in a way where it supports its mission and operations. So I think it can be an asset we can consider.
All right, Dr. Harrison is giving his hand wave thumbs up. All right, anything else under new business? All right, I would like to make a motion to move into executive session to talk about a specific personnel matter and also potential litigation.
Just one correction. I have to indicate a little bit more specificity in regards to individual personnel matter that includes discipline, termination, and/or promotion, and as well as litigation that has to be discussed in executive session to prevent influence of the litigation on other parties.
All right, yeah, so litigation is, we're discussing an executive session to prevent interference from other parties, and in regards to the potential personnel matter in regards to discipline. Thanks for that thank you for that clear. Actually, yeah, in the future, and I think AJ may have given this before, but we should have that. If I get that in writing, just the detail on that, I may have it already, because I do want to make sure that we are following that directly. But if you can send that again, I want to make sure I am being as clear as possible. All right, so a motion for executive session.
I so move.
All right, in favor?
None of the other board members are in favor, or?
Nobody wants to, we got to vote. All in favor executive session?
Did we have a second?
I didn't hear a second.
Oh, well, I made the motion. Yeah, Arlene, yeah, we need a second.
Second.
All right, Rabbi Settle second it. Thanks.
Now we do the vote.
Yep, now we got our hands up.
I see Knox, I see Harvey, I see Brown, I see Cadet, I see Nikoloff, I see Settle, and I see Harrison. Motion carries. So I will be taking us offline, and we will return after the executive session to close out the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Marina.